Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the regular meeting of the Los Angeles City Council's Planning and Land Use Management Committee. My name is Marquise Harris-Dawson. I'm the chair of the committee. We're joined by members Gil Cedillo, MacArthur Park, Bob Blumenfeld, San Fernando Valley, along with Greg Smith, his neighbor to the north and east. We have a short agenda for today's meeting. We will start, Mr. Mejia, with item numbers 4 and 5. If we could read and consider those together. Thank you.
Sure. Item 4, Councilman, this is a motion of Farrell Ryu. It's instructing the Planning Department to prepare a report relative to the zoning and land use patterns along Echo Park Avenue, Scott Avenue, Logan Street, Des Moines Street, Montana Street, Morton Avenue, and the impact of the land use controls therein on the abutting lower residential homes in the area in CD 13. In item 5, again a motion of Farrell Ryu. This time it relates to the existing multiple dwelling zoning in Silver Lake and the impact on the adjacent lower density built environment in CD 13.
Okay, thank you. We have no public comment speakers on either of these matters, so I'll ask that we take these items on consent without objection. It's been moved by Mr. Cedillo, seconded by the chair. Without objection, that'll be the order. We are also always very happy to have our fearless leader of our great planning department of the City of Los Angeles. So if we can go to item number 1 and hear from Mr. Vince Bertoni.
Thank you, Chair Harris-Dawson and members of the committee. Vince Bertoni, Director of Planning. Just a few items for you this afternoon. First is we're going to be continuing our Planning 101 series. You may remember we started for the first time a couple years ago in the department's history to really do a comprehensive outreach to the community and do kind of education about what city planning is and what city planning is in Los Angeles, so that really our communities can really better understand how do they get engaged in the planning process throughout the years. Our first was in the fall of 2017, and 2017 we focused on policy planning, and then our second one was in the spring of 2018 when we focused on the project review process. We'll be coming up with our third series, which will be, we're calling Planning for the Environment, and that is one where we'll be looking at both state and local regulations that are in place to protect the environment, and some of the examples are Senate Bill 743 and 375 that really have to deal with how we really review projects from an environmental standpoint, as well as the city's Green Building Code. We'll also talk about the California Environmental Quality Act in general, and also about kind of how we consider the environment when we do both our policy and how we look at development. We'll be hosting one meeting in all the 7 area planning commission areas, so there'll be a total of 7 of these sessions. We'll also be, something new this year is we're having a webinar, and all the sessions will be hosted in the evening, and they'll be from about 6 to 8 p.m. And as we approach, I'll be giving you an update of when they come. Those have been when we've done them in the past, have been very popular. They've been very well attended. So we're excited to have that coming up again. Later this week, on another item, we're excited that we received a Department of Neighborhood Empowerment Award, and that has to do with our community liaison program, doing the Neighborhood Council Civic Engagement Los Angeles Vanguard Award, which recognizes departments and employees who are doing outstanding collaboration with neighborhood councils to benefit Angelinos. So we're excited about that. And just on one other note, I was gone last week. I was participating in a conference held by the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy in Buenos Aires, and Lincoln Institute has been working on urbanization and land issues in the United States, as well as other places. And so they invited me as the one planning director of a large city in America in the United States to join planning directors in cities throughout Latin America. So there's 9 Latin American cities that were represented, and we're there for a total of 3 days of meetings and really talking about the issues of urbanization and in Latin America. And it was really a fascinating kind of look at city planning throughout the rest, quite frankly, the rest of the Western Hemisphere, and looking at the challenges that they have there. And we actually saw places where they're both building infrastructure, and we did some kind of on-site study in Buenos Aires and looking at how they were dealing with some issues with their port and transportation, as well as how they were dealing with what they call informal development, where there are parts of their city where that have been built up with no approvals, no permits, and how do you work with these to actually get those buildings put into a healthy and safe condition, and kind of in dealing with those aspects. So it was a really kind of an interesting time, and it's interesting to kind of apply some of that back to what we're doing here in Los Angeles, because we do have commonalities in terms of just the basics of providing shelter for people. So with that concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bertoni. That was a sterling report. Thank you for representing Los Angeles amongst the capitals of Latin America. We're not a part of Latin America, but we're certainly part of the fabric and the energy that's coming out of Latin America. And congratulations on getting an award from neighborhood councils. That's a really big deal, and you all ought to be proud. I just had one question on the training sessions, which sound very exciting. About how many people come to those, and then have you all started, or do you have plans to live stream them?
Great question. I don't have the attendance numbers with me. I can provide those with you when we come back. And I know that we've recorded. I'll ask Craig Weber, who's actually has been doing several, I think more than one Craig has done. At least he was in the very beginning. I know Craig helped pioneer them in the beginning, and I believe we recorded them, but I could be wrong.
I'll try to speak loudly. In response to the first question, general attendance has been about around 100 at each event. In the sort of pilot training sessions that I did, a couple of them were recorded with the goal of putting out a video ultimately later. But I do know that staff have discussed wanting to either more directly broadcast them or just find any means available to put the content online. A lot of folks have expressed an interest in having the content online.
Thank you so much. Much appreciated. We have one public comment speaker for item number 1. Her name is Laura Napoli.
Hi. I wanted to thank the committee for listening to my concerns, and I want to ask the committee to consider a policy for secondary home rentals in the city of Los Angeles. My situation is thus. At the very least, if this policy doesn't go through, then a waiver for situations such as mine. I am a resident here, and myself and members of my family pulled some money together to buy a home here in Los Angeles. We use it as a vacation rental for them to come and spend their money here and enjoy everything the city has to offer, and then we rent it out to offset the cost. The other main goal is to have my family move here to be with me once my nieces get to a certain point in their schooling. So if this current ordinance passes, it's going to be a terrible hardship in terms of us having this home and carrying the costs as it stands right now. So I'm asking for either a change to the policy for secondary homes or possible waivers for situations such as myself and my families. Thank you.
Thank you. And if you'll just hold on, Laura, you signed up for 2 items, so you actually have another minute. You don't have to take it, but you have it. If you have more to say.
I don't think so. I mean, I guess I'll just add that, yes, we are registered with the city. We pay our taxes. We also are very, we really try and ensure that the families that do come and rent our homes when they come to stay, that they are going to be gracious to the people around them, and we make sure that they're not going to have parties or any such things. So we kind of consider it our way of having a foothold here for the rest of my family, and we appreciate that in the interim other families can come here and spend their tax dollars, and it gives us a further foothold here. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. So we're going to close public comment now. I have Helen Walker, who just came on.
Good afternoon. I'm also here about the whole house rental. I manage properties for people who are from out of state who come have bought homes here to come visit their children, grandchildren, what have you. If the short-term rentals are not available, then they will not be able to come because they'd have to lease it out full-time, which kind of defeats the purpose. My plea is that to please regulate this and have everybody licensed so they're all paying the taxes, because that amounts to a huge amount of money that's coming into the city coffers. We're paying taxes on all the properties I manage, and that could certainly help alleviate a lot of the problems that the city faces with the homeless and low-income housing. And I believe it's many, many millions that are coming in, so please don't dismiss this out of hand, because I know you guys would need the money basically to pay for stuff. Anyhow, thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Mejia, item number 6, there's been a request to continue that to the 2nd of April, 2019.
Yes, sir.
So we'll do that without objection. And then that takes us to item number 2.
Item 2, Councilman, this is a report from the Department of Building and Safety. It's providing an update on the progress of the mandatory soft story and non-ductile concrete retrofit programs.
All right, we have someone from the CLA's office on this, I believe.
Not on item 2, Councilman. That's a building and safety.
Oh, sorry, Building and Safety, Mr. Barbeau. My apologies. Mr. Barbeau, an associate.
Good afternoon, honorable council members. I am Catherine Huascacaba from Los Angeles Building Safety. I have Cheyenne Killian from Los Angeles Building Safety as well for any questions you may have. We are here to report the latest status of the mandatory retrofit programs. As a quick background, soft-story buildings and non-ductile concrete buildings have proven to be the most vulnerable buildings during a seismic event, and they perform poorly and collapse, usually at a seismic event. The goal of this program is to mitigate and to reduce the structural deficiencies of these buildings. For soft story, we have identified about 13,821 of these wood frame soft story buildings meeting the criteria of the ordinance. About 24% are 3 stories, 75% are 2 stories, 2% are condos and commercial buildings. For enforcement, we already sent all the orders to comply, and they were sent incrementally. First batch of order was sent May 2016. Last batch was sent February 2018. About 7% of them were exempt due to previously retrofitted. As far as the status for phase 1, within 2 years of the order, the proper owners are required to submit plans or prove no retrofit is needed. On phase 1, there's about 66 have already complied. 29% are pending but not past due. 2% have requested for time extension, and about 4% are past due. For phase 2, within 3.5 years of the order, the property owners are required to obtain the building permit. About 29% of the building obtained their permits and complied. In phase 3, within 7 years of the order, the property owners are required to complete construction and obtain certificate of compliance. I'm happy to report about 14% is already complied. For non-ductile concrete building, we have identified about 1,376 buildings in the city of Los Angeles. All orders to comply have been sent, and they were also sent incrementally. First batch order sent was November 2017, and the last batch sent March 2018. About 7% were determined to be exempt or previously retrofitted. In this case, phase 1, within 3 years of the order, the property owners are required to submit a checklist, complete a licensed engineer acknowledgement, and verify that the building is a non-ductile concrete building. There's about 3% have complied, and the rest are still pending but not past due. In phase 2, within 10 years of the order to comply, the property owners are required to submit proof of the building were previously retrofitted or demolished, and about 2% have complied. In phase 3, they have 25 years from the order. The property owners are required to complete construction and obtain certificate of compliance. At this time, none of the buildings have complied. For all these reports, we have updated monthly, and it'll be available for you in the Building and Safety website. Do you have any
Excellent.
questions?
Questions, colleagues? Mr. Blumenfeld.
Thank you. A couple questions. The reports from July, but you said there's some updates since then, right?
Correct. I'm sorry, this is as of March of last week. As of last week, this is the updated data.
Okay, so has there been a big increase in compliance since the last
Well, that was last year. I think last year was about, I'm not familiar with how much of an increase, but we're currently at 66% on phase one.
Okay. Then I had a question about the HOAs. They seem to have they're touched upon a little bit in the report, and most of them are in my district. They're spread throughout the city, but the largest number in my district. And I've gotten a lot of concerns from folks. A couple things. Are there hurdles or issues with the program that the council should be aware of, specifically dealing with HOA, and has compliance been different for HOAs?
Okay. Shahana Killian will be answering those questions.
Again, my name is Shahana Killian. We have been working with different groups of HOA, either attending council meetings or even meeting in a house of fellow HOA constituent to try to figure out how to resolve their issues. We have been listening to them and looking at their buildings. We have several cases where with further analysis, just engineering, and ended up that they don't have to retrofit, but because the building was built such a way, it was okay. So we're looking at creative ways to help them comply, and so far, because the HOA condo owners were left all the way at the end, the last batch, they're not due to comply yet. So whatever that we've been getting are the people that are very proactive and they're coming in and comply. If needed, the department can provide additional information, just the condo owners. In our reports, we are showing different per each council district, how many apartments there are and how many condos there are. And you're right, Councilman, there's a large number in your district. But we've been very open-minded, looking at creative solutions to help those homeowners living in a condo complex to comply.
Because the difficulty, there's the notice difficulty, because who do you serve the individual, but the only way they can take action is through the collective.
Correct.
And then there's a finance issue, because unlike a single home, they can't qualify for PACE financing and for other finances. So they have that issue. And then the other thing that they often ask me about, and I don't know a good answer, and maybe you do, is they say, well, why are we treated differently than a single-family home? It's particularly the ones that visually are identical. So you have condo homeowner association, a single, a freestanding house could be right next door to a freestanding house that's a single-family house. But the single-family house is exempt, but they're not exempt, even if the construction is exactly the same. It's just because they're zoned multifamily, I guess. I don't know, but maybe you could help me answer that question, because I'm always stymied when I get asked it.
We have had situations where the buildings, the way that they were designed as townhouse with a complete structural separation gap in between.
Right.
We have treated them similar to single-family dwellings, but most of the condos that we're seeing are complexes of 4 or more units. They look like a townhouse, but they're essentially one building, one large building, consisted of, instead of having units on top of each other, they're just next to each other. For all intents and purposes, that building still has a lot of people within that same complex. Right. And my understanding is, for the purpose of the ordinance, it was to address those highly populated buildings to make sure that there is no major, effects when those buildings collapse. So to answer that question, if I may assist you Please. On answering, it's if the building was constructed as one building structurally, we will consider them as one building. Therefore, they have to comply. whoever so far that we have came across, either through your office or through mayor's office, we have communicated with them directly, and as I mentioned, we've even gone to their home, and we've come out with creative solutions. But if they have been constructed, it's structural independent, then we can consider them to be safe as its own because they will behave individually as separate buildings. So we can take an exception on that. If there's any constituents out there, please have them contact us. We'll work with them to get this resolved.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Members, any other questions or comments? Mr. Smith? Cedillo, Price? No? Hearing none? Thank you. We will note and file this report as it was for information only, and we thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 3.
Yes, Councilman. Item 3 is a motion, Price Harris Dawson. It's instructing the CLA with the assistance of the Planning Department to prepare a report with recommendations on TFAR reallocation of funds for 4 programs in CD9.
All right, we have 2 public comment speakers, and I'll ask staff to stand by in case there are questions that need to be addressed. There's someone here named Kerr. I think someone might have been trying to sign up for you, Councilman Price. CUR. All right. And then Ms. Christine Rango. 4 and 5 we already did. So, you sure you don't want to talk on 3? All right. All right. So if we have any comments from the CLA's office, we'll take those now.
I don't know if the gentlemen want to speak. If not, we can simply adopt the motion, Councilman.
All right. You have any comments for the good of the record? All right. Seeing that there are none, I'll ask that we accept this motion.
Yes.
Without objection?
We'll
Excellent.
adopt it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Where does that leave us?
That concludes the meeting, Councilman. I think you already did public comment.
We did do general public comment. We're adjourned at 3:04. Thank you.